The government is reviewing the state pension age again, and the latest projections, brutal. Some are pushing for it to rise as high as 74, not as a worst case, but as a likely scenario. That's basically saying, hope you enjoy your 70s in an office. And here's the latest stat that made me stop dead. If you retire in 2050, you're expected to get £800 less per year than someone retiring today. You save more, you work longer, and you get less. Make it make sense. Meanwhile, nearly half of UK adults aren't even saving into a pension at all, and if you're self-employed, it's even worse. This isn't a panic video, it's a prep video, because if you don't move early, you don't just miss out, you get left behind. Let's talk about why this is happening and what you need to do about it. So let me ask you this, how would you feel working until 74 and then getting less than someone who retired a decade before you? That's a real projection. The state pension age is currently 66, and it's rising to 67 between 2026 and 2028, and then to 68 between 2044 and 2046. But according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, in their most recent pension review, they say if they keep the triple lock, which means the state pension rises each year by whatever is highest, inflation, average earnings, or 2.5%, and if we keep pension spending around 6% of GDP, the state pension age may need to rise to 69 by 2049, and potentially 74 by 2069. Now, the common defense here when we talk about these age increases is,
well, people are living longer.
Sure, but here's the first catch. By raising that age, they delay when they start paying you, so you burn through more of your own private pension before the state steps in, or you keep working longer and paying more tax into the economy through taxation. It's very clever on their part. By the government moving the milestone further away, they drain your tank first and they save money. You pay more tax and you carry all the risk. When you think about it, it's a win-win for them, and if you don't even have a private pension, you're not just left behind, you are exposed. Now, on paper, raising the pension age might sound fair to them, but it falls apart the second you look deeper. The worst claim is that people are living longer so they can work longer, which is just plain wrong, because there's life expectancy and then there's a healthy life expectancy. Healthy life expectancy represents the average time an individual is expected to live in very good or good general health, based on how individuals perceive their general health. This table shows how it's changed across England and Wales in recent years. This column shows the life expectancy by region from 2017 to 2019. Now, look what happens when we add in the column from 2021 to 2023. Yep, that's not a rise in ages, it's a drop, and here's by how much. Apart from the anomaly of London being an increase of 0.2, the rest are all down. Some even down as much as 2.5 years. On average, across all of them, that's an average decrease of 1.76 for men and 1.96 for women. In England, the healthy life expectancy today is 61.5 for men and 61.9 for women. That's below the current pension age. But that means they should be lowering the state pension age and not considering increasing it. A lot of us would be getting ours at 68, and you're telling me I need to work in poor health for 7.5 years, and you're considering increasing it. It just sounds crazy. Just because there's a lot of top-level stats of people living longer, it's just a lie. An extra year in your 80s and 90s is incomparable to one in your 60s. It's more like drugs and medicine are able to keep people living longer in awful conditions. And I visited a relative in a care home last month, and it was really sad. Now, don't get me wrong, the staff and team do an amazing job, but I was told by 3 different people who I didn't know while I was there that they wanted to die, and that was just one visit. It's really sad, and it's quite terrifying. There's also up to a 20% difference in years spent in good health depending on whether you come from a more deprived or less deprived area. Some people in poorer areas might never even reach retirement in good health at all. Now, the other elephant in the room that people love to say is,
well, you can just work longer.
But that only works for certain careers. Let's shift this debate. So politicians, sure, Farage is 61 and run for PM, Trump's 79, Putin's 72, they can go on forever. But a roofer, a labourer, a nurse, a care worker, or even office workers, I mean, try asking someone in IT over 50 how job secure they feel with AI on the horizon. Heck, I'm turning 36 this year and my fingers and wrists are ruined, my back, eyes. I dread to think how I will be in 20 years' time. Not everyone can coast working into their 70s. Poor health is already forcing people out of work early. In 2024, more than 1.6 million people aged 50 to 64 were out of work due to long-term illness, and by 65, a growing share are no longer in the workforce because of poor health. And let's not ignore this, women in their 50s have half the private pension wealth of men. That gap's not going away. So yeah, raising the age might look logical on paper, but in real life, it's not right. And what they don't consider is it only works if everyone starts from the same place. The Institute for Fiscal Studies is crystal clear on this. A uniform pension age is unfair. They say that people in poorer areas or in tough jobs live fewer healthy years, full stop. So raising the age punishes them first. That's why they're calling for earlier access at a lower rate, to give people in worse health more control. Now, the problem is, however, we're still sitting on a generational time bomb. And this is where the real problem lies. Why? Because saving money is hard when everything costs so much. Rents are at record high, mortgages are painful, and wages haven't moved in over a decade. Imagine trying to build a lifeboat while your ship is still sinking. That's what it feels like for people trying to save right now. People have to prioritize short term over long term, and it's going to cost them in the long run. Let's say you earn 30k, you save 4%, that's about £100 a month. After rent, bills, tax, there's nothing left to move the needle. And the average age of someone buying a house now is 33.5. And there's been a 37% uptake in people taking out 40-year mortgages, me included. I even signed a document to say I will work past retirement age. Now, of course, I did that strategically as I'm overpaying my mortgage, but most people aren't doing it strategically, they're doing it out of survival. Couple that with the rise in people opting out of their workplace pensions or not paying into a scheme, and pensions not being anywhere near as good as they were. There's no more final salary pensions being handed out. Plus, a generation of people hit with the highest house prices relative to earnings, and you're left with this big black hole. Not the black hole that Labour keep playing like a broken record, but a huge amount of people who aren't going to be able to afford a good retirement, and that's a harsh reality. When you say it out loud like that, it sounds pretty damn terrifying. And look, if you're listening to all this and thinking I'm behind and I don't know where to start, that's exactly why I made something to help. It's called the Retire Early Roadmap, and it's a free guide that I built to walk you through the same steps that I'm using to retire early. There's no jargon, just a plan that will help you get started. You can grab it right now at chrispalmer.co.uk/roadmap, which I'll link down below for you too. So grab that before you forget. Now, can this be fixed, or is it just a distraction? Well, there's a lot of buzzwords being thrown around. You've got auto-enrollment expansion, sidecar savings, contribution tweaks. They sound like fixes, but they're barely scratching the surface. Auto-enrollment, you're only in if you earn over £10,000 from a single job. So if you're a part-timer on a 0-hour contract or you're juggling multiple jobs, well, you're out. There's no employer contribution, no default savings, nothing. Sidecar savings, it's a fancy label for a system that lets you build a small emergency pot alongside your pension and dip into it if life throws you a curveball. Well, it sounds helpful, but in reality, it's like offering plaster to someone who's broken a leg. It's useful, sure, but it won't fix the deeper wound. And if you're self-employed, well, you're basically forgotten about. You've got no employer match, no enrollment, no fallback. You need to know about a self-invested personal pension, which nobody bothers to tell you about. Even the DWP admitted that the self-employment outreach made limited progress. That's policy code for it didn't work. Meanwhile, the IFS says that raising the pension age just 1 year saves the government $6 billion annually. So who do you think that they're looking out for? This is where the sponsor of today's video, InvestEngine, can step in to help you. They've launched a new feature which is free for you to use, which is huge. They've teamed up with Pi, and together they've made claiming extra pension tax relief quick, easy, and completely online. In a private pension, otherwise known as a SIP, for every contribution you make into it, the government adds money back. And if you're a higher rate or additional rate taxpayer, you could be entitled to even more. That bonus is called tax relief. You'll likely fall into this bucket of additional tax if you're earning above £50,270. Now, that might seem like a big number, but due to inflation and rising cost of living, many of you might find yourselves above this threshold and not even realize it. That's called salary creep. To claim back that higher or additional rate tax relief from HMRC, this can be a manual process you have to do yourself and can be confusing and time consuming. It involves finding all of your pensions and checking you've got the right contributions. InvestEngine's partnership with Pi does that automatically at no added cost to you. It's great if you already have a SIP with InvestEngine, but if not, you could open one for free and access the useful service. The great thing is that Pi will take a look at your workplace and your private pensions no matter who they're with, work out exactly how much tax relief you will get. You can navigate to the options section in your Invest Engine SIP, where you'll see get your additional tax relief, and in just a few clicks you'll see exactly how to claim that additional pension tax relief. Now, a lot of people try and paint the state pension as being a benefit that not everyone needs. And fair, maybe someone with a £5 million private pension pot doesn't need £12,000 a year, but that's far from the reality of the majority of the population. I think it could quite easily become means tested, although I don't think it should be, because even if they did, they wouldn't make the barrier high enough. As with every policy they ever set, it never just affects the people who don't need it. They never do that. It always hits the people who've saved just a bit and worked a bit harder to try and better themselves, and they end up in this strange grey area, like we saw with the winter fuel payment. If you've been told you're paying into a system for 35 years to qualify for your pension, then you do expect to get it, and rightly so. So what's the fix? Well, the IFS doesn't just say raise the age, they're actually pushing for smarter reforms, ones that make the system more flexible, sustainable, and fair for people who just aren't in white-collar desk job careers. First, they want to reform the triple lock, not scrap it, but replace it with something called a smooth earnings link. Basically, make pensions increases more stable, less volatile, and fairer across generations. Second, they say the system should allow early access to the state pension age, but at a reduced rate. That way, someone in poor health or manual work doesn't have to suffer just because of some arbitrary number. And third, it recommends setting a minimum retirement income target, not just save more, but actual clear benchmarks so people can plan around real numbers. And finally, expand auto-enrollment, bringing in lower earners, self-employed, and raise contributions over time, because the current setup leaves too many people behind. Experts are already floating the idea of raising contributions from 8% to 12%, and that's a 50% jump. It's not clear if the suggestion would fall onto workers or the employers, but not in this parliament, because nobody wants that headline. It's classic politics: delay, distract, and deflect, and let the next lot take the blame. And the truth is, are the people making the decisions now actually the ones that will be left to deal with the consequences? Well, probably not. MPs get one of the most generous pensions in the country. For every £1 they put in, the taxpayer adds up to £2. And former prime ministers, well, they can claim over £100,000 a year in public duties allowances, even after they leave office. No wonder they're not in a rush to fix the system. They're not the ones that are relying on it. So I don't think they should be the ones to make the decision. And the harsh truth is, they aren't the people I want to rely on for my pension. In fact, I don't want to rely on the state pension at all, which way too many people are. The fact people are terrified when 74 or 71 gets mentioned is crazy to me, because honestly, 68 as a retirement age scares me to death. I don't think anybody should be working past 60, or at least the healthy life expectancy age. That's when you need to start enjoying your retirement, at least. This review has just come up, but how many more reviews are to come? It's every 6 years, so for me that's at least 4 or 5 more reviews until I retire. Something negative is bound to happen, that's for sure. This isn't just a retirement problem, it's a quality of life problem. It's about getting control and getting back your own time. This is where you need to say, F this, I'm taking control. And if you don't, you'll either work forever or you will retire poor. People say, well, this feels impossible. And yet, if you're relying on the system, it is. It was built for a world that no longer exists. Cheap housing, single careers, steady pensions, that's all gone. So now, unfortunately, it's all on you. So let's talk about what you can actually do about it. Now, here's where we flip it. I always say, aim to retire early, not because you definitely will, but because you might have to. Retiring early doesn't mean buying a boat or a sports car, it means options, either to slow down to pivot or walk away if you need to. Rather than aiming to retire early, you can aim to be work optional. You might continue enjoying to work on something or a career you're more passionate about. Getting to that point means you have choice. I think you should be aiming for 60 at the latest as a goal, perhaps even with a state pension not even in the calculation, just in case. That's why I suggest investing so heavily, because it's a tool that will compound and allow you to get there. I invest so much because I'm not gambling my future on a system that keeps changing the rules. I expect the age I'll be able to take my private pension may change by then too, so I'm building an ISA alongside it just to give me options, and that's what you want. Say you're 35 and you save £150 a month into a global index fund. Well, over 22 years with a 5% annual growth, that's around 190k, and we're being conservative there. Now, that's not mansion money, but it's freedom money. Compound interest is like a snowball. You start it rolling at 35 and it builds, but you wait until 55 and you're rolling marbles uphill, and you need some serious contributions to catch up, or you have to work longer, or you can reduce your costs. But the sooner you start, the better. Now, you don't need £1 million, you need margin and you need breathing room. That's really where the power lies. You should be maximizing your workplace pension, exploring SIPs and lifetime ISAs, and working out if you need an ISA too. Even if you feel late to the game, you're not out, but you've got to just start. Not perfectly, nobody does, just do it intentionally. Now, my Retire Early roadmap will take you through the first steps to make sure you've got things in place. And I have a ton of resources here for you on this channel that you can also watch for free. Do make sure that you're subscribed and turn your notifications on, because I will have a lot of content to come on account optimization and how much you'll need, which you won't want to miss. And these videos here will also help you reach retirement much quicker. So take action today and let's get you on track to retire or be work optional as soon as you can.